Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Mizuki.arts. Guess what we're doing yet again? It's another paint with me video. This time I have 3 more autumn themed fairies to share with you all. So grab your autumnal drink of choice, whether that's tea or apple cider or pumpkin spice latte, whatever. And maybe your sketchbook too, and let's get to painting. For this first piece, I wanted a vintage, theatrical, dramatic sort of look, so I gave her this long, fluffy hair, and the piece is themed around autumn nights, like an autumn ballet of some sort, and she's got like stars, and she'll have like orange and green on her dress and stuff to make it like an autumn night specifically themed outfit. I wanted her to still be like in her theater costume, enjoying some pumpkin tarts. I took a lot of inspiration from like vintage stuff, like photo shoots with old actresses like Vivien Leigh and Marilyn Monroe, people like that, which is how she ended up with like this wispy, fluffy, very much teased up kind of hair. I did have sort of a story in mind to go with this piece, but it's fairly simple. All I really had to go with it was that she's just been a part of a very successful autumn ballet or play, and she's enjoying some pumpkin tarts made by a friend of hers that saw the show. She doesn't want the night to end, so she's eating the pumpkin tarts in her theater costume, which I know is sort of like a no-no in the theater world. You're not supposed to do that. I think a lot of people do anyway, just because in these productions you work long hours and stuff. But yeah, that's the story. She doesn't want the night to end. She's sort of enjoying her stardom in the fact that her production was very, very successful. Overall, I just really wanted like a dramatic and also nostalgic kind of look to the piece. It ended up being a lot of fun to fight the colors on the dress, which, you know, it was a back and forth kind of thing. Like I wanted green and I wanted orange and I wanted them to kind of blend together, but I didn't want it to just look like it was all turning into like brown, you know, like I wanted there to still be distinct separate like green and orange, you know. Another thing that ended up happening that was sort of intentional, once I realized what it looked like, and sort of unintentional in that it wasn't planned, was that this blending of colors made it look like an autumn leaf, like a leaf that had fallen off a tree, and I really, really liked that. Like, I really just wanted, at first, like, an ombre satin kind of look, like a silky kind of fabric that had, like, multiple dyes, just kind of like, you know, splashed onto it so that it had like a soft kind of look to it. But the choice in color for this particular dress did make it look like an autumn leaf, which is nice because obviously it's an autumn artwork and there's a lot of different inspirations and stuff behind it, so I really like that. Something weird kept happening when I was scrolling Pinterest looking for like old pictures of like Marilyn Monroe and Vivien Leigh, because those were 2 of the actresses that I like looked at a lot when I was like really getting into like old movie screenshots and like the Technicolor look and like things like that on my Pinterest. I noticed a lot of like AI altered photos of Vivien Leigh in particular. Like I saw a lot of those. And then like AI generated photos, and I'm like, there are lots and lots of photos of these people. Why are we like AI generating more? That doesn't make sense. And some of the AI altered ones like messed with their facial features, because obviously if you're using AI, it kind of just does whatever it wants, even if, you know, you're prompting it to do something different. It just does whatever it wants, really. So it's like, why? That's upsetting to me. Like, these people, not only are they passed on at this point, but like they're people that were renowned for their beauty. So it's just like, why are you doing, why? I'm sure I have lots of AI generated photos saved to my Pinterest because I just don't have the time to like sort through. I have 27,000 images saved to my Pinterest board. Pinterest boards, I should say. So I'm sure quite a few of them are AI altered, AI generated, because no one has time to like look that closely at these things, especially if you're just gathering inspiration. But it kind of does make the platform useless for reference or for research. And I also like I don't think I'd care if people were just using AI to like add color to an image or to like up the quality, because image enhancement is something that pretty much has always taken AI in some form. Like in Photoshop, when you're using it to expand pixels, like that's something Photoshop can do. That's still AI. Like I wouldn't care if it wasn't for the fact that the like AI platforms that most people use for that kind of thing aren't like they don't work that way. Like they'll alter the face and like the makeup and things like that a little bit, even in ways you wouldn't notice. So it's upsetting to run across, you know, like screenshots for a movie that I've seen a few times now, Gone with the Wind, and see that Vivian Leigh doesn't quite look like Vivian Leigh, like something's a little off. And if you scroll Pinterest, like looking for like a retro 50s kind of aesthetic or anything like that, like retro 50s, 30s, 40s, whatever, you will find a lot of like AI generated like Marilyn Monroe's and like lookalikes for that. And you'll see them like done up in like interesting photo shoot ideas. It's just kind of sad to see it done with AI when it could be done by like a real artist. Again, like you can still take inspiration from these things, so I'm sure I have some of those saved to my boards because I was probably like, ooh, I like this particular aspect of the image, let me save it for later because that's an interesting idea or whatever. But it's just not the same as like it being done by an actual artist or like an actual photo. It takes like the human intention out of it. So it's kind of upsetting, particularly when it's like clearly intended to look like some of these old movie stars, like some of these people that have, you know, passed on, you know, and left behind a lot of work that was made by humans. So it's just weird. That's my little rant. Thank you for listening. I hope it's not too annoying to have that interrupt a painting video, but you know, I use Pinterest every single day. And you know, again, I can take inspiration from whatever people put up there, but like I would prefer it be actual art, actual photos, so that when I go looking for these things, I can find them, you know? But anyways, I love how this piece turned out. I had a ton of fun working on her. I think she looks like she has star quality, to me at least. Let me know if you guys like want me to like design a cast of like characters for this play, like to actually like write out the play that this fairy was a part of. I think that'd be a really fun project. For this next fairy, I took inspiration from like gilded, high fantasy, very rich kind of aesthetics. I wanted her to look like, even though her actual like drawn design is fairly simple, I wanted her to still look like intricate and like very rich, like she's glowing, like she's just dripping in gold. So for the color palette, I ended up pairing like oranges and golds with like this deep blue green ink that I had. It's like this very rich kind of velvety color, and I think it made the whole painting look that much like more deep. Since I knew I wanted her to have this like cluster of stars that she's like holding up or like releasing, this like rich glowing kind of look was going to be pretty important because I did want her to look like magical. I wanted her to look like especially powerful, if that makes sense. I figure she's the fairy in charge of making sure that harvest time is like especially bountiful for the fairies, you know, so that they have enough to get through the winter. She's probably responsible for that last bit of summer magic that allows, you know, your gardens to like finish up growing, so that you have good stuff to eat. And she's probably responsible for releasing like the autumn colors too. Like I imagine in Way Over, the name of my fairies world, like I imagine in their world, like the seasonal change is more sudden. I imagine those seasons would be like pretty distinct, except for maybe over the course of like 2 or 3 days, and then suddenly, things are golden, things are, autumn, autumn like, stereotypically speaking, like leaves are falling, leaves are bright orange, everything's starting to cool down, that kind of thing. Like, I imagine since it's magic, like in Way Over, it's a little bit more dramatic, if that makes sense. Anyways, random world building aside, I gave her a cluster of gold plants in her hair, which I left as long, loose, and flowing. I wanted it to kind of like drape over her shoulders and behind her back and everything to just look long and rich like the rest of her. I had some trouble with her face because even after getting an associate's degree in illustration and relentless personal training, I still struggle to get both eyes to look like they're looking in the same direction sometimes. I am by no means done learning as an artist. The other issue that this piece suffers from, that you'll see later on, is a lot of white space left. I collage my paintings, so I cut them out and I layer them over each other and over a background. Um, and this piece in particular, I just left too much white space around that cluster of stars, instead of cutting them out individually, which is really what I should have done. And it ended up throwing the color palette and values off a little bit. This is an issue with the collage technique that I'm still working on resolving. The other solution really would be to cut very, very closely to the pieces. And unfortunately, that is extremely hard on like your wrists, or my wrists, I should say, and my fingers. I already deal with a lot of joint pain, so I'm not going to be adding on to that. No, thank you. So one of the solutions that I've come up with in like pieces that I was working on around this time and in the future, future is in like, present day. I don't know. That sounds weird. I'm sorry, guys. The other solution I've come up with is to paint a border around my pieces before I cut them out. And the border usually like kind of matches the color I have planned for the background, or it might just be something different, so that the fairy stands out. And this has also actually helped me when like converting my artwork into stickers, because there's a natural border that matches the artwork already, if that makes sense. Well, it's all the artwork, but you know what I mean, like the fairy. It matches the fairy already, and it has like the same texture and everything, so it's actually made my more recent stickers like feel a little bit cooler in my opinion, particularly one of my Halloween stickers, which is the one that I really experimented with this technique on. And yeah, I'm going to be making my stickers like that a lot more often. I didn't see it at the time, but looking back on this fairy, she kind of reminds me of Queen Galarian. I'm not sure why. She just does. I guess because actually no, I am sure why, because they're both like sparkly, glowing, like amber colored kind of fairies. Anyways, I fought myself a lot on the hair color too, because I wasn't sure what fit her. But dark brown definitely seemed to be the correct answer for this girly. I just felt like she was missing a lot of like darker values. Like the dark green that I used for the background, you'll see is pretty good. But I pretty much knew at this point there was going to be a lot of white space because of the way that I'd painted the stars. So I was like, okay, I need to work some darker values into this piece because that white paper is going to really blow things out a little bit when I go to photograph her. Like I mentioned earlier, like the collage technique, like I love it. I love collaging my paintings. It's so much fun to just be able to doodle whatever on the page. And then later on you can cut everything out and arrange it however you want. Like that, I love that. It adds so much dimension and texture to the pieces. But one of the great struggles of it is like how much of the paper, like the plain paper, is exposed in your final piece. And of course, one of the solutions to that is painting a border around your like pieces, so that, you know, when you go to cut it, you can cut a little bit looser and not have any white space showing. But if you don't think to do that, like I didn't think to do that for this piece, then you end up having to arrange your values a little bit differently. You end up having to like make things a little bit darker in other parts of the piece, so that hopefully when you go to photograph things, you don't just see a lot of white space and then like some midtones and like nothing dark. The more extreme you make your values on one end of the scale, the more extreme they have to be on the other end of the scale in order to feel balanced and whole. My drawing one professor, she used to count how many values she could see in our drawings, and she would ask for at least 10 minimum. Obviously, not every piece needs to have 10 values, but the whole point of her counting them was to make sure we were hitting both ends of the spectrum, like the very, very light, like bright whites of the spectrum, and then like having some like very, very, very dark, deep colors or values. A lot of students, like I was like really afraid of going very, very dark on my pieces, and I still am sometimes. So sometimes I will like have to count my own values myself just to get myself to push it like a little bit further. And I'll have to step back from my piece sometimes, and like call upon that lesson or any of the other lessons I had on color or value, and think about like, okay, how many values do I have in this piece? Like, am I hitting the full range here? Do I need to hit the full range for this piece? Like, what is going to serve it best? At the very least, there should be like a darkest color or darkest value, and then some midtones and some highlights. And usually I end up staying too light on the spectrum. Like, I'll add tons of sparkles, and then of course the white around the edges of my pieces will throw things off. So I try to go in and like darken things, even after I cut things out, if things look a little bit like off balance or whatever. But I think this piece turned out pretty well in spite of my battles with it. I do like how she looks, and she definitely looks like she's ringing in the season of autumn. And I like that it looks like she's glowing. She just looks like she represents the season as a whole, and I love that for her. For the third and final piece in this video, I actually drew inspirations that feel pretty opposite to our golden glowing autumn girl. This piece is very much inspired by like cottagecore and medieval aesthetics, and also like being frugal and crafty and thrifty, that kind of thing. I wanted it to look like she was a very practical person who repairs and makes things very, very often. So I pulled her long hair back with these like ribbons, so it's tied out of the way. I did leave some of it out, just to make it look more, I don't know, like I don't like when I'm drawing hair and there's like no bangs, no face framing at all. So I did leave some out for her. And then I gave her a long skirt like you do, in a bodice that looks like it's stretching at some areas. There's lots of like exposed stitching. It looks like it doesn't fit quite perfectly. I wanted it to look like it'd been mended many times and more than likely handmade. I also gave her these very naturalistic like dragonfly looking wings. I'm guilty of not always like changing up how I draw wings for fairies. Like, I feel like I draw like 3 main types of wings, and this is like one of them. But they're very fun to paint. I love like painting this like glassy kind of texture. And anyways, of course I kept her color palette themed around like autumn, so it's lots of oranges, and you'll see later some greens too. To contribute more to that like handmade sort of look for her, I added lots of patches on her dress, like all the different sections on her bodice are like different patterns and different shades of orange because I wanted it to look like it was well loved. She's had this dress and especially the bodice like a long time, and she's repaired it a lot because I imagine she's someone that, you know, she cares about her appearance, but she also is someone that does a lot of different types of work, and some of that work can be very hard on your clothes, especially if you're like working like in a kitchen and like, you know, you get stains on things and whatnot from that. And I definitely imagine this character does like a lot of baking, like she probably enjoys baking and canning and that kind of thing, just because she likes to do her own thing. She doesn't like to go into the fairy village and buy things from people. I really enjoyed like layering the ruffles and stuff. I like that this character feels like she's both elegant and also like thrifty, frugal, and crafty. Like she cares about what she looks like, but like not so much that she's going to go out of the way to adorn herself with like a ton of jewelry or anything like that. Which like some of my insights into my characters are planned. Like I'll be like, okay, I want to draw like a character that's like you know, more of a crafty character, but then I won't be like planning like, oh, you know, she shouldn't have jewelry because she might lose that if she's working in the kitchen and she has to take it off to bake, or she might lose it in her baked goods, worse. But that's sort of how things end up when like you're planning for certain traits in a character, like a certain look, and you don't think too much about the details. Like sometimes your instincts lead you towards decisions that do make sense. Like in this case, I didn't give her jewelry, and I didn't give her like very heavy makeup either, and that definitely suited the kind of vibe and kind of character that I wanted to create. Which again, even though she's very elegant and very pretty, she's like, she keeps things simple and like she doesn't worry too much about the details. Also, I'm sorry if you guys hear my dog like wandering around behind me. He's got a little jingly collar. Um, and he randomly decided to come and hang out with me where I'm working. So, if you hear him rustling around back there, I'm very sorry. But you know, my videos have never really been free of background noise, so if you've been on the channel before, you're used to it. I just hope he's used, hopefully just not that loud. It's cool. It's cool. He can hang out here. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Of the 3 paintings in this video, I think this one might be my favorite. Either this one or the pumpkin tarts ballerina character. But I think I like this one the most, probably because she like reminds me of my love of like fall time crafts. I think I mentioned in the last video I was homeschooled for a little while. I'm not really sure if I did mention it, but I feel like I did. Um, and when I was homeschooled, like we did a lot of crafts, especially around fall and the holidays. Just because when you're homeschooled, like you don't waste as much time with like being transported to and from school, waiting for classes to get set up and put away because the teacher has to set up for 20 plus kids, whatever. So you save a lot of time and you end up being able to do these seasonal activities and extracurriculars and stuff because of that. So I associate a lot of that stuff with fall and Christmas. And obviously I included a lot of food in this piece too, because why wouldn't I? If you've been on the channel for any amount of time, you know I am a true foodie. Like I love tea, I love breakfast foods, I love desserts and pastries and all that good stuff. And around fall, that stuff just hits a little different, you know? But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know which of the 3 pieces is your favorite, if you have a favorite. And let me know what's been in your sketchbook this fall, especially now that October's hit. And I know many of you guys are probably participating in some kind of Inktober or Inktober inspired kind of challenge. Good luck to those of y'all participating in that kind of thing. Be sure not to burn out because yeah, that's a pain in the butt, you know. So good luck and draw in a healthy manner, and stay inspired and everything. So yeah, let me know which one of these girlies is your favorite, what fall activities you're participating in, and real quick before I go, I want to give a shout out to my Ko-fi supporters. So thank you so much to Ashley, Savvy, Tiffany, and Lilycorn. You guys support me. So if you'd like to join my Ko-fi page, sorry, the dog is making noise. He's rustling around. I don't know if you guys can hear that. If you'd like to join my Ko-fi page, there will be a link in the description box down below where you can get all these benefits and so much more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and follow all my socials for more art, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!